Yeah! Welcome back, folks. You're watching Centerline Designs. My name's Cole, and we're back working on the Snowcat project. Okay, well, if you've been following the build, you know that I'm building these tracks by myself, and it is a monumental undertaking, but it's all part of the process, and I love learning new things. So we have one roll of the track belting here. Now, this is gonna need 2 holes punched in it a little under every 3 inches, which is gonna set our link spacing for the grousers. Okay, well, before we get into building this die, let's bring you up to speed on what we've done previously in the track building process. Okay, well, previous in the track building process, we went ahead and we made some really nice laminated dies, which takes our straight piece of 1-inch mild steel square tubing and stamps our drop center grouser. And if you want to learn why I'm building this track profile that I'm doing, I'd suggest go back and watching some of the previous videos. I kind of explain in depth the advantages of going to all the work to do this. It's going to really help with the vehicle's maneuverability. So these dies worked out really well. We were able to do some test stamps and prove that not only the machine is capable, but the dies worked as well. The next set of dies we went ahead and made were the dies to stamp out the wheel guides. Because we're using a really large turf tire, I need a fairly large arc for the wheel guide so that these tires don't tend to kick the tracks off. Even then, I know people are thinking that I'm gonna have issues, and I might. I wanna try this out because the rig doesn't have suspension itself, so these turf tires will provide quite a bit of cushioning. And if they don't work, tires are easy to change. A lot of other tires are gonna fit this profile, so you know, it's trial and error. This is a complete prototype designed by myself. I'm not afraid to make mistakes. It's how I learn. So that successfully went ahead and stamped out these wheel guides. So once we got all these pieces together, they kind of assemble like that. And this is what we end up with. We have these plates here. The only thing that's missing on this sample is the through holes. The track belting goes in right here, and then 250 of these make the track. So I'm going to all the effort of making jigs for all these things because I have a very large quantity, like 250 of these, which is 500 wheel guides. It's a lot of parts, so taking a little bit of time, making some jigs is just gonna make the end product that much better. And to give you a little bit of an idea, there'll be one of these slid in on the belting approximately every 3 inches. Bolts are gonna go through, one on either side, and that makes the tracks, which really acts like a big chain. And then our hydraulic wheel motors drive the sprocket, and that's gonna make this machine go anywhere I want it to. So, as you can see, we need to put 2 holes in this belting. And as I mentioned earlier, spacing is pretty critical. I mean, I have some tolerances. All this is fairly rugged, so it doesn't have to be accurate to 1/16 of an inch, but I'm gonna shoot to do it as best as I can. And yeah. So to do the punching, I've purchased 2 Flexco belt punches. They're an HP1, which is gonna work out perfectly. Drilling the belting is not ideal. Knocking your holes with the intended punch is definitely the way to go. These aren't cheap. They're like 60, 70 bucks a piece. And I opted to buy 2 just to make the process that much faster because so we need a top and bottom jig. The bottom one is gonna have 2 dog pins that once we get the first set of holes in, you'll lock that down. The moving portion with the punches will come down, knock our holes, we lift it up, we push it back down, knock the other set of holes, and that should be really good. The other thing we're gonna need is some side guides to this to make sure the belting doesn't twist or turn, which would really throw things off. So it's not all that complicated, but I think it's gonna be a pretty good video. We got welding, CNC cutting, stamping. I can't wait, because once this is done, we are ready to assemble. In a future video, that is. All right, that's enough of me talking. Let's get over to the CNC table. We gotta get some stuff cut out, and I'll show you where I'm going with this. Okay, well, I don't really talk about this plasma table too much, but it's a Crossfire Pro by Langmuir. and I have a Hypertherm 30XP connected to it, which is a pretty small cutter. I'm looking at upgrading to a 60 amp here soon, but table works really good. I haven't really dialed anything in. I set it up, started using it, and I've just been working on other things. A project this winter I want to do is make a really nice solid base for this on large casters and put the table on that, and then have side material storage and get it away from the corner over there, because I have another plan for that. And maybe even have a little gantry on it to help just tip and put the material on. So that would be a pretty fun build that I'm planning this winter, and it's slowly coming to me. But I got some of the drawings done for what we need to cut. Let's go ahead and get this thing running. Okay, before we go ahead and mark the holes that are going to hold the pins, so when we move the belting, we have dogs to stop the belt, and that will determine our spacing and make it really repeatable. So before we do that, let's take a punch and knock a hole in this belt. I don't think I've done that yet, and I want to measure the diameter of the actual hole in the belt, and then that will let me know what I'm going to do for my pins. I ordered this belt extra long, so I can waste a little. Okay. I see what's gonna happen here. We're gonna need keepers to keep this belt from lifting up. I didn't plan that, but I think we can figure something out. That kind of worked out as a good test then. Let's see, what does that measure? It basically knocks us a 1/4 inch hole. And that's nice because I was planning on using grade 8 1/4 inch hardware. I was gonna go to 5/16 if I had to, depending on these punch sizes, but I think 1/4 inch grade 8 bolts, that's pretty strong. Okay, perfect. Pin size, 1/4 inch, which means I'm probably gonna put 5/16 holes in there, and then I will machine the threads off a little countersunk 5/16 bolt. That should work out really, really well. Actually, I'm just thinking about it. Why would I go to all that work machining a bolt when I can put threads in here with a perfect 3-inch spacing between them, and then I can thread that down, Loctite it, and I'll just cut the head off. And then that leaves us a nice smooth 1/4 inch shank. That's a way smarter idea. Okay, well, we got that little plate made. We can go ahead and get our studs in. I need some pliers on that. And then we'll cut off the extra threads. And then, it might need straightening a little bit, but then that will bolt down there. And that makes this adjustable. Let me show you here. By having some play here, we can get it dialed in to make sure it's square to the punches, otherwise it would want to walk over. We can fully get this squared in, we can get this squared in, And then if we're ever making tracks again down the road, I can just remake this little plate and change whatever spacing we want. So this is kind of gonna be a universal belt stamping jig that I'll probably keep for, you know, future purposes. There's really going to be no rotational forces on that, so I don't really feel the need to have to put Loctite or anything on there. So let's just get these cut off. All right, so that's gonna be able to be dialed in really nicely. Let's go ahead and make this piece. Okay, so normally, you know, you put the belting on top of a piece of wood or something soft that's not gonna hurt your punch and hammer it through. So I'm not gonna be bottoming this out on steel. We're gonna go ahead and use a piece of UHMW that's replaceable, and it will just countersink, sit in there. Doesn't have to be all that perfect. It's just a sacrificial piece of material so that we don't screw up these fairly expensive punches. So drill 2 holes, do some countersinks, and then that is our wear piece, I guess. That countersunk got away on me. It didn't want to go, and then once it went, oof. But good thing this part isn't that critical. I just got to cut those off again. The base die, the lower die, basically done. We just need to mount that to a big heavy piece of angle that we can clamp into the press. So let's get some cut up and go ahead and do that and weld it on. Then we'll work on the top die, which is going to be rather simple, so it won't take all that long. I think this bandsaw blade needs to be replaced. It's you can hear it kind of chunking or skipping every now and then, and that's a section of teeth that's missing. The rest of this process is pretty similar to the other ones. that's gonna work really good. We just need to line up the center of these holes, these ones right here, with the center of the jaw on the top, and then we will weld this in. Then we can adjust this to, you know, just slightly wider than our belting. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put a piece of round bar right between here, and that's gonna keep the belting from getting pulled up, because you could see when we did that little test, the punches like to stick in it. So that way when the top die goes up, the belting will hit the round bar, pulling the punches out, and then you can advance it forward back onto the dogs, and then we just got to repeat that a ridiculous number of times. All right, let's go ahead and get this set in place. Okay. Okay, I think I have this pretty much squared up. Now, the nice part is with all the adjustment, if it isn't perfect, the base plate, we can square these sides and the dogs to the punches, so that, you know, we'll just dial it right in. There we have it. That is ready for adjustment and belting. Now we just got to create the part that's going to hold these two punches. And it's not going to be all that difficult. A little bit of milling and drilling. So let's get over to the mill drill machine and knock this out. Okay, with that milled and ready to clamp in there, let's go drill the through holes here. I went ahead and marked the set screw location, so let's go ahead, drill that out. We're gonna tap it to 1/4 20, and then we have to do a little bit of lathe work because I undersized these holes just a little bit so that I could take a little skim off the punches so they fit in there really nice. Okay, let's go ahead and get a center in this. Okay, cool. Now, we just need to get square from these two to here. We'll set the belting, and then yeah, we're ready to stamp the first batch of holes here. Okay, these two holes are not going center in the belt. There is gonna be a slight offset to the holes. And so I'm just gonna go ahead, set this up, make sure it's all square, and we'll give the first stamp a try, and then get that crossbar in that I still need. Great, let's get the link spacing set. All right, that's nice and square. Let's crank it down. We should just see. Oh yeah, it lines up. Okay, so the thicker rubber part of the belting is gonna go to the bottom. So that means this side those two punches are going to come down and just hit the UHMW a little bit. Once I get the first set of holes put in there, then I'll just push it onto the dogs. We'll do the next set, and I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but this was my idea to hold the belting down after the punch. It's a little snug. But once we get a tail out here, it'll be a lot easier. So let's go ahead and give this a first punch. Okay, I think we are ready. I'm gonna get the press brake fired up, and let's try the first stamp. I'm actually gonna pull the belting out just to verify the height of the punches and get that depth set, and then we'll start the first punch, and hopefully it works and I don't screw up too much belting, because I didn't account for all that much extra. Alrighty, here we go. there's a lot of play here, so that's not an issue. Hang on. Perfect. Yeah! Okay, I am absolutely thrilled with how that worked. I went and just threw a little bit longer rod in, and it bows a little bit, but it's not too bad. So I think that's it. Now we're just gonna have hours of stamping and cutting and welding, and the next video I think is gonna be, it's gonna be a bit longer, but it's gonna be the whole process of stamping all the belts, cutting, shaping all the grousers and dies, and putting it all together. So hopefully by the end of the next video, we have 2 sets of tracks, or hopefully by the end of the next video, we have a set of tracks. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and leave this video here. I think that was a pretty wonderful success, and for not actually having a huge plan of what I was gonna do, that turned out awesome. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And as I mentioned, the next video, we should have tracks by the end of it. So thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.